Jen Cole at Jen Cole ICT, and welcome to Making a Marketer.
Hello. I'm Megan Powers at Megan Powers, and welcome to our first live recording of Making a Marketer. This is episode 3. Exciting. So we decided to mix it up a little bit and have a mid-month broadcast be shorter. So our plan is to be about 30 minutes, and then we'll put this onto the podcast. So some days we'll have a guest, and sometimes it'll be just us. Today, Jen and I are going to talk LinkedIn. There's a couple of new features that we think are exciting. Well, one I think is exciting, one I'm not so sure about. So we'll see what anyone thinks. And kind of just, I just kind of want to talk through the value of it. Because I've been hearing different chatter recently. Some people, like Brian Fanzo, thinks it's the absolute best platform for his business. Not the best platform, but for his business. And then I've heard some others say they feel like it's totally dropped off. So I have a feeling I know one of the big reasons why it's failing for people, and I'll be interested, Jen, to hear what you think about that. So live video, right? That's an obvious new feature where they're trying to compete with Facebook.
Yes.
Well, I mean, everyone for always. What are your thoughts on live video in LinkedIn?
Oh man, on LinkedIn, I think it adds a whole new element of pressure because, when you've been on live on Facebook, you've been on live on Instagram, Periscope, everyone expects it to be kind of raw and real. But then when you add that to LinkedIn, LinkedIn is supposed to be very put together and very professional. And so I think that, I think it adds kind of one of those weird dimensions to where we're just going to have to really know what we're talking about.
Your audio dropped.
Focus. My audio dropped. You got me now?
You're good. Yeah. You just cut
Okay, good. So what I was saying is I think that it's going to be really, really important to hone in on those key points. And I hear it's also limited to 10 minutes. Have you heard that?
I had not heard that, no.
Yeah, I think I read on Mike Stelzner's update yesterday that it's limited to 10 minutes. So you really need to keep it focused, keep it contained, put together. Not as many. I don't think there's going to be a lot of forgiveness for tangents. Yeah, so that's kind of my input on it. I think it's going to be a lot different.
Well, and hi, Tim. Tim just said it's not live yet. And I guess I understood it to be live, but it's just...
At this point, I just think it's native video, but it kind of has... the way that it appears, it looks like it's live because it's still, to me, it appears that it's very, very grainy, except for I've seen when Brian Fanzo does it and it's very well put together, very branded. But I've seen people, it looks like they're filming from LinkedIn, just not necessarily posting live. I don't think it's live streaming while they're videoing it. I'm really not sure. This is something that I want to get on and play around with because it's very intriguing to me, but I also want to make sure that I know exactly what I'm doing when I do it because, again, it's LinkedIn. It's not Facebook. It's not Instagram. It's not Periscope. And I don't believe it's as forgiving.
For sure. Well, and that was my initial thought was that people are, the whole thing, the mantra has been just press record, right?
Mm-hmm.
With live video and just go for it. And no one's going to be upset if there's a technical glitch or whatever. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that there's less room for error on LinkedIn because this is such a professional platform. Not to say that you shouldn't be professional on Facebook, but yeah, I think it's. I personally, I'm less forgiving on there. If I see a video on there and I play it, I want that content to be truly valuable. I want that. I don't want it to just be like whatever, someone just kind of shooting the breeze, kind of like you could do in here. I don't really want that in Facebook either, but that's another story.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the vibe that you like, the precedent that you set for your video strategy. Like this show is going to be like this. This show is going to be like this, and that's just how it's going to be. But with a certain topic, talking points. You got to be prepared. I don't think you can shoot off the cuff like I do on a lot of these things.
Right.
Even
Tim says, "Don't watch mine then, Megan Powers." Yeah. Well.
Oh, he did a great job the other day.
It's just silly, but that's kind of the thing. But it goes to, the value is going to be greater too if people are, and it's going to make LinkedIn a more valuable environment for people if people are doing it right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and this is a platform where you really need to make sure you're doing you're adding credibility to your personal brand. This is a platform that's all about personal branding, so It's important to keep that in mind.
For sure. So the other thing that's new is this active status thing on LinkedIn Messenger. So I had someone message me, and I kind of had a freak out moment. Like the first time I was on Facebook, and I didn't realize that I was on IM, and all of a sudden I have someone, chatting at me, and it's like, ooh, it kind of makes you, it makes me step back a little. Like, I know they can't see me, but I'm like, oh, like it feels a little invasive. And so for me, I saw that on LinkedIn, and I was like, whoa, and then I couldn't figure out how to make it go away. So I just minimized it, and I could still see the little green dot. And then when I look at messages, I could see green dots on people. But I figured out today how to disable it.
Oh, nice.
So do you think I should show it? I can screen share. Do you think I should show it?
Yes, because this is something that I'm selfishly interested in too.
Okay, so this is something that's going to be a little bit less exciting for the listeners, but I'm going to try to talk through it as best I can. Let's see. So I'm adding the extension to Chrome to share my screen, which I, have obviously already done before. So let's see if it'll let me. All right. Add extension. Did that. Come on.
You got this.
Come on.
Do it.
It's not letting me. So I'll talk you through it. So,
okay, cool.
So basically, when you click the right bottom button, there's a little gear shift on that. If you have it minimized, and you can click messaging settings and click that on or off. But if you click active status settings, then in here is where you can turn off display your active status. So if you don't want someone to know that whenever you're online, to me it's just a little invasive. I get it.
Yeah.
But I just see the value in people who, I don't know, I see it being abused, like little spammy.
Yes, I can see that too. Absolutely.
But you can also make other adjustments. Just as an aside, like you can say who can see. Oh, you can. That's where all the other settings are, where you can say who. But you can also hide your active status from certain people.
Oh, I'll say they even went that far.
Yeah, especially if you don't want your boss to see that you're on or something, right? Like, I mean.
Well, here's what happens to me a lot of the time because of what we are. We're social media marketers. I leave the tab open. So maybe I'm not necessarily active on LinkedIn, but the tab's open.
Totally. Same.
But when I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on there for a reason. I'm not on there to be in an active conversation. It's different. It's very different.
Totally. Which brings me to, I asked Brian Fanzo for just like a 1-sentence blurb about how it's been valuable for him. And I know he talked about it on his podcast today, but I didn't have a chance to listen to it before we came on. But he said, LinkedIn content is easily amplified as everyone that likes your content gets that piece of content shared to their network. So if I like something that you posted, then people that you're connected to will see that you liked it, and then they'll be more likely to take a look at it. So that's why you'll see when you look in your insights, you'll see like people who are second and third degree connect you liking something that you've posted. He said, for me, business decision makers that aren't on the other social channels actively during the day are checking LinkedIn a couple of times a week. And the algorithm reflects that too, right? Like it shows you posts from people that you've interacted with before and that sort of thing, which I appreciate, especially when I'm posting for my client and then I want to like my client's post.
You know, give it that credibility.
It's marketing, right?
Yep.
If only I could get my clients' other employees and my clients themselves to go in and do that more often, then it would be amplified even more.
That would be the LinkedIn dream right there.
It's funny because I gave up that a long time ago.
So did I.
But one of my restaurants, I said to the host that the host stand, there was somebody who was new. There were a host and 2 hostesses. And I said, I told them, I introduced myself, said I was the marketing person for the 3 restaurants. And I said something about social media. And they said, we have social media? I said, what? Yeah. I rattled off all the platforms. And then I pointed to a sign that has like all the Instagram, the Twitter, and the Facebook logos on them. I'm like,
for the love of Pete. That's amazing.
I said, I'm posting some really good stuff. You should check it out.
Yes, it's true. And those restaurants, they are definitely Instagrammable. That's a term.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. So Tim, we've got to love Tim Lewis. Always open. And now he's like a guest on our podcast.
Yeah.
So, the name tagging on LinkedIn is already being abused. I think maybe he can expand on that. But I think that, I don't know. I mean, maybe he's getting mentioned. Have you noticed that, Jen? Like, what do you think about that?
So far for me, it has not been abused. I haven't seen any of that yet. I'm hoping that I don't have to, but you never know. As new things roll out and users of a certain platform aren't used to the way that they're supposed to be utilized, and then they start abusing it, that can happen.
Well, I have I'll mention my clients and then in hopes that my clients will get pinged.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's a good thing. I guess it could be abused if it's somebody who you don't really know who's just trying to get your attention. So he said they've added a feature that asks you who will like this, and you list a lot of people for the video. Oh yes, I did see that. I haven't used it, but okay, I see what you're saying. I thought he just comment.
Do those names show up then in the caption, or do they just make sure that they hit those people?
Like that they get notified? That's a good question. Maybe Tim knows.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Tim knows.
Yeah. This is great.
Yeah, this is great. Tim, yay.
So I will be turning that off pronto. Oh, he says both. They get a notification and it shows their name. Yeah, I could see what that would be like. I wouldn't want my name necessarily associated with a post. I would want the option to opt out. Kind of like on Instagram when you get tagged, someone tags 1 million businesses in a photo, which is odd to me and obviously very spammy. If it's not related or we don't know them, or I unlink. You have the option to unlink in Instagram, which I do that quite frequently.
Yeah, and I know it's so off topic, but Instagram is getting spammy. Just gonna say.
Yeah. So Tim said you cut out every time you're saying something interesting. Did you see that?
Every time I say something interesting, gosh.
Of course he's kidding. And he said he tagged you in one of his videos. That's funny.
I did, but it was relevant. It was good. It's different when it's relevant.
True.
And that's what Tim says. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So I think one of the reasons I think that we're hearing negatives on LinkedIn is because groups got so spammy.
Yes.
Groups used to be super valuable, I think, in LinkedIn, and I think they're less so. I think it's really difficult for admins to keep up, or to even, I'm sure that they may even be setting for some of the groups for people to just be able to post whatever they want. There was a time, right, where they were really trying to control, no selling in here, so no sell zone, whatever.
Yeah, groups are different. I think that the way that should be done is, I think that if you're going to have a group and you want it to be ultra focused and you want to stay away from the spam, you need to set out the rules, and they need to be in the description of the group. And then you can give people 1 warning, you can give people 2 warnings, but if you don't give people a 3rd warning, they're out of the group. You just get them out of a group, because if they're going to continue, and you know what I do is I send them a correspondence and say, hey, this is warning number 1. We try to stay away from this in the group, so please don't do it again. They do it again, okay, they get another correspondence saying, this is your last warning, so don't do it again.
Right, for sure. Interesting, because I forgot that Social Media Marketing World has a group for the event, which is unusual. It's a unique case, which I think that, was good. But I think that LinkedIn is going to really, Facebook groups are just too good. And I think that do you think they can compete?
You know what? I don't. And I don't think that LinkedIn can compete necessarily with Facebook groups. You can't go live. You can't do polls. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't even, well, I don't even know if you can put a video demographic.
You cut out. Do you want to repeat your last sentence?
I said there are a lot of things that you can't do on LinkedIn, like going live and posting videos, I don't know, posting polls, things like that, where Facebook trumps LinkedIn groups. But, LinkedIn's been making a lot of changes. You never know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen this year when I manage the LinkedIn group again. Supposing we have one, I'm assuming we will. Yeah. But I don't think they can compete with the way Facebook is right now.
Exactly.
But you do have that demographic that's on LinkedIn and not Facebook. So you still got to hit those people, in my opinion.
So, well, and what's interesting, I'm just trying to think through what changes LinkedIn could make in order to compete. I think, well, one of the things that last time I created a group for an organization that I worked for, and granted, it was small, it was a nonprofit, and we didn't have a ton of activity in there, so this wasn't as big a deal, but I couldn't hand off admin to anyone else. If you created the group, you couldn't get out of it. So
you are the owner of the group.
Yeah, I could add someone, but then I couldn't take me out of the mix, and I didn't want to continually be reminded that I wasn't involved with this organization anymore. So I just deleted it. And again, it was small, so it wasn't that big a deal, but I could see that being an issue, and I could see maybe that's part of the reason why a lot of groups have kind of taken a turn the way they have. If that admin gave up, then there's no one to sort of man the whatever the word is. I don't know, to control what's going on.
Yeah, and to lose all of that data and all that good conversation is that's a sad thought. It's such a sad thought. So that might be something that they need to rethink, how they do that. Or maybe even make it to where you can have 2 owners at least and shift that.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I could add an admin, but I couldn't delete myself.
Right.
That kicked me out. So I was like, okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah, and it's funny because, with as much turnover as a typical company has, you think that LinkedIn being a company, company-centered platform would have thought about that a little bit. You should be able to transfer ownership of a group, but I don't think that that's available yet.
See, that's interesting that you say that, because I don't think they created groups with companies in mind. And
there it is.
A lot of things with companies in mind. I think that, look how much they took away from company pages. They're really, I don't know if they just are not in the business of trying to benefit companies so much as they are individuals. She just said that's a good point. She cut out. Oh no, now I think she froze. So obviously there are consistent advantages to LinkedIn. And I think that she's back. Do we have audio? Yay. Okay. So Groups are span city. We talked about that. I think the consistent advantages on LinkedIn are professional branding opportunities that you don't really get in other environments. Then you kind of touched on that earlier when you would say that's the biggest advantage, right? Oh, shoot. Okay. This is good stuff. Okay, Tim, want to interact with me? No. Yeah, so obviously LinkedIn is where your work history is for sure, but it's also where you are totally in control of your branding and everything that has to do with your work history and all of that good stuff. She's back.
Hey.
Technology. We love it.
Man.
It's all good. So I was just talking about the branding opportunities that are available on LinkedIn that aren't really available on other platforms. Could be 100% professional on Facebook. And that can be, you know, just your persona on Facebook, but Facebook's not just meant for that, right? It's meant for a lot of other things. Kind of, what's your thought on the best way to keep your brand consistent and to do a good job in that in LinkedIn?
Well, you know, I think Tim hit on it there briefly. I think I saw his comment for like a second about LinkedIn Pulse. That used to be something that I was really good about doing regularly, writing articles on LinkedIn Pulse. I think that when you take the time to do that and really put the thought into it and make it pretty, you are showing people that you know what you're doing and that you know what you're talking about. It's a very clear demonstration when you're able to talk to why you do what you do in a written format. I think it's a very key piece to personal branding, and I think that more professionals need to utilize it, especially the C-suite people. I know that they don't necessarily think they have the time to do it, but I guarantee you it's worth the time investment.
Yeah, I've done some like lunch and learns with real estate agents and different organizations on the value of LinkedIn. And this woman said, I don't know, do you think I need a LinkedIn? And I said, have you ever had a job? Are you working now? Yes. Would you like a job in the future? Yes. Then you need to be on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Because if you're not on LinkedIn, you don't exist in the world of work. And it's a little sketchy. Like when I gone to hire people and looked online and sometimes the resume doesn't match the LinkedIn. It's like, okay, which education is right? The LinkedIn or the resume?
Yeah.
And it's so important. And I think people, it blows my mind that people still lose sight of that.
It's just so easy. I mean, in my opinion, it's just so easy to have all of that stuff laid out to where if people want to research you, I mean, this could be a really big asset, you know, to your personal brand and to your demonstration of what you can provide for a company.
Yeah.
And it's just tragic that it's overlooked so often.
And I would think that it wouldn't be as much, but it's interesting. So just to get back to Pulse, though, and I had an interesting conversation with someone who owns a major blogging company. I'll just say that. Who said, when we were talking about this, right, it was shortly after Pulse came about, and I said, you know, I think it's amazing because it gives you another outlet. He said, but they own your content. So that's what I think about. I mean, having unique posts there that only live there, then that makes it their content in a way. I mean, it's your brand, it's you saying it, but I thought that was an interesting perspective.
It is an interesting perspective. It's something that I forget to think about all the time. I mean, I say I write it, it's my content, but not on LinkedIn. So I think that is part of the reason why I keep a lot of stuff on the Backspace blog for my company, because that's my content and it's my company's content if it's on my company blog.
Right. Well, and I have a few times put something onto LinkedIn that I posted onto another blog. And I put a note originally published.
Yes.
And,
Yeah, that's a smart workaround.
It's a good way to keep your content yours and still share it. Because I mean, you also get activity when you, as an update, you know, you put a link to your blog, which we should all do also. But it's really interesting to see the insights and stuff that you see in LinkedIn when you post in pulse. So Tim says he needs to cross post on LinkedIn, never get around to it. Yeah, I think there's value in that. And then, you know, when you're posting to Twitter and other platforms too, you're not going to necessarily point them to LinkedIn, or should you? You should point them to your own blog. But yeah, so what else? Anything else on LinkedIn that you think we should chat about today? We've got about 7 minutes.
You know, I always think something on LinkedIn that I think that is also slacked off on or easily overlooked is the bio. I think defining yourself and what your capabilities are on LinkedIn it's your first impression. So make it really, really good and make it personable. Like, don't make it just, here's what I do. I do this. Wah, wah, wah. Don't be like that. Like, write it like you're talking and that you're excited about it. Have it, you know, portray the passion that you have for what you do.
For sure. And I guess it's just worth noting that some people think, like, in the first thing that shows up next to your name, they put their title. And I guess that can be good, but I think more than anything, especially if you're not planning on being with a company for 30 years, it should be what you do.
Yeah.
Or who you are, not just like what your title is and where you work. Because just below that, when people click to your page, it shows this is where you work, this is where you went to school, this is where you live. Yeah, so, and it's interesting that we're talking about this because I've been thinking, like, wondering if I should tweak mine or not.
I think it's always a good idea to keep it fresh, change it up, make it like, and you know, you can set it up to where people notice when you do that, or you can like toggle it off to where nobody will notice. They'll just notice if they visit your page. So I think it's a good idea to do it every so often.
That's actually a good point too. Some people don't know that you can turn off posting every notification. Because I know I had where I just changed my title or I changed something, but I didn't change jobs, and I got all these congratulations. I didn't go anywhere. I changed. Tim says, "Say I'm not related to Stephanie Powers." You just dated yourself, Tim. So I think I get Austin Powers more than now. Jen's probably even too young to know who Stephanie Powers is. There was a show called Heart to Heart. Robert Wagner and Stephanie Powers were the stars. Show.
I'll have to look that up. Is it on YouTube? Just kidding. I'll look that up though. I want to be able to get
on Netflix now.
There we go.
Yeah. So, and you know, I don't have a unique name. So having the appropriate picture is another key thing, I think, which people overlook. Not just that it's actually you, but that people can see your face, and a picture of your dog is cute, but not appropriate really for LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get especially sketchy on people who ask me to get connected who don't have a picture.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, as long as I'm on my soapbox, I will say when you invite someone to connect on LinkedIn, give them a valid business reason why they should connect.
Yes, 100% yes.
Especially if we're not in the same industry, we don't have any connections in common, because to me that just says you're just trying to collect people. Right. So whenever I invite someone, I say, I met you at X, you know, meet you, you know, I give them like we have this person in common. They said you'd be a good person to know, or something like that.
Awesome.
It used to be difficult. I mean, we could talk for a second about the app, the LinkedIn app. I deleted it for a while. Like, I didn't even, it was of zero value to me, and it didn't give you the opportunity to write a note. So now when you click connect, it says, I don't know, there's some percentage they have on there. People are X% more likely to connect with you if you write a note. I think it's nice. I already knew that. Yeah, but it's an extra step. Like it used to just be there. Like there was that that box and you could just start typing.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have to click the write a note button and then write the note and then hit it.
And I think that, it's important. It's just like thank you notes. It's one of those things where, hi, I am this person. I don't know if you remember what we met at Social Media Marketing World. And I really enjoyed our conversation. I'd like to continue the connection. This literally takes you maybe 1 to 2 minutes to do before you push the send button. It doesn't take that long.
Right.
Yeah. And they like it. They appreciate that.
Yes. And now, and this is the other thing that bugged me though, is that, you didn't have any history of what note you wrote, and now they got smart and it's included in the messages.
Yes.
So when someone agrees to connect with you, then that message that you initially sent them is in messaging.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really, really handy. And then you can even keep on the conversation, which is really nice too.
Yes. Yeah. I also have people who continue to try to make appointments with me via messaging. Who I don't know, and he wants to know how we can help each other, which really he wants to know how I can help him. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel about it, just because of the way he's gone about it. Yeah. And I've had this happen with a few times lately, and I ended up blocking one of the people because I was like, I don't feel like I should have to explain myself, and the fact that I haven't responded to 3 messages, and I know it's terrible because I used to be in sales and I hated when people ignored me. But I got that eventually, and it's like, whatever, you move on.
Right. Just yes, no. Okay, thanks. Okay, I'm not going to keep pushing you, but some people push too hard. Yeah. Don't be that person.
Totally. Well, and Tim made a good point. He said it keeps wanting to import contacts, which I hate. Yeah, like it'll pull up and go, you want to, like basically it's asking if you want to send a LinkedIn request to every person in your Yahoo contacts or in your Google contacts, which is ridiculous.
But I mean,
some people
from high school.
Have you gotten a whole bunch of requests from people and it's like, okay, they didn't do that on purpose.
Yeah.
But hopefully you can tell that they didn't do that on purpose. So
yeah.
Tim's getting to 500 plus. All right.
Hopefully.
I started with LinkedIn back in 2006. Like I know who invited me into LinkedIn. So Dan Montoya, I met him at a networking event for San Diego State Business School, which I wasn't a member of, but someone invited me to their alumni networking event. So I was like, yeah, I'll go. And I met him, and I was working in event production sales at the time. And he invited me to LinkedIn, and I was like, this is like gold for connect, not just like find people I used to work with too, like people who were lost because Facebook didn't exist yet. And yeah, it was quite exciting. And then I literally, it's funny because for the first 900 to 1,000 people, I could tell you exactly how I met like 98% of those people.
Wow.
And then now that I've been working in social media and marketing, it's kind of taken a turn. Now I'm not really sure who everyone is. I also maybe have accepted from someone just because we have someone in common, even though I don't really, that kind of thing. So. But I took great pride in that because it truly was it was an environment that I was cultivating, and I was really, really finding value in it. And I'm in there. I use it a little bit less, in part because there's so many platforms, right? Like we can't be everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
It amazes me. Fanzo must not sleep.
I don't think he does.
I don't think he sleeps.
I think he's fueled by Red Bull or whatever.
Yeah, totally. So, it says I started on LinkedIn at least 5 years before Facebook.
Wow.
Yes. We're in 2017, right? So I've been in there 11 years. So I have, I don't know, 13,000 connections or something like that. But
oh my gosh, it's like a small town. Meganville.
Maybe it's not that many. Let me see. But nobody else listening really cares, so I'll do that offline. All right. So anything else you wanna add? I think it's time to wrap up.
Yeah, I mean that's really. I mean, I could go on about LinkedIn all day. There are so many things that are good. There's some things that are not so great. But I think you're right. I think maybe it'll be for another time. We can do another round sometime on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Later on down the line, we could do a full hour and have someone maybe from LinkedIn on. Maybe
that'd be cool.
Not just somebody who calls himself a LinkedIn expert, but who actually works for them, which will provide a one-sided perspective in some ways, but also maybe clue us into things that are going on. So,
yep.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Jen, for joining me for our first Facebook Live. Not without its little technical difficulties, but such is the nature of the beast. Hopefully,
indeed,
to post on the podcast. If you're listening to this on the podcast, thank you for listening to episode 3, and we will see you. We'll be with Madeline Sklar and maybe one other guest for our next episode, the first week in October. All right. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Tim. You're the best. All right.
Thanks.
Time.